I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
I want you to get mad.
Glitch paradox is unfiltered. Parental discretion is strongly advised.
Isn't that powerful? $50 or more.
This is Glitch Paradox Podcast.
The Glitch Paradox Podcast. Of course, you know who I am. Big Man, Big Rich, alongside Mad Squirrel, Mad Scientist, bringing you another wholesome family podcast. No cussing, no bad words whatsoever.
It's going to be fully wholesome.
Yeah, this is rated G over here. We only do rated G over here. Anyway, bringing you another cool show, catching up on current events and all that good jazz. I know we're both busy and all of that, and had to make time and said, okay, you know what? Let's knock this out because we got some stuff to talk about, get off our chest.
Yep.
But you know, I'm glad that we are able to do this now because I know I've had a hectic few weeks, especially my oldest. She keeps hounding me about. She keeps showing every day. She's sending me a new dress idea for prom.
Oh,
and
God.
she just changed. Like she was going with blue. She was like, I want to do blue. I'm like, okay, cool. And then she recently, yesterday, like, Dad, I want to switch to red. No, she said yellow. I'm like, a yellow prom dress? She's like, okay, what about red? I'm like, okay. Can I do a light red or dark? I'm like, Tatiana.
She could do like a gold.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, gold. You could do that. But
That's
yeah,
what Beef's gal did. She did gold.
Yeah,
like a nice
so
gold dress.
I'm like, oh, let me just hurry up and get April over with because their prom's like towards the end of April.
Oh, man.
So I'm like, you know what? It is what it is.
It's going to get worse, right?
Yeah.
This is all going to
like,
get worse.
Dad, she's like, Dad, because I told her I'd get a limo. She's like, Dad, which limo are you looking at? I'm like, Tatiana, will you leave me alone? But the only time I say her full name is when I get irritated, because other times it's just Tati. I don't call her full name, but yeah. So dealing with she's getting ready to graduate, and she has this senior trip, going to in May, going to California. They're going to Disneyland, and
that's cool.
Doing both California Adventure and Disneyland, and then the beach, and then they have like a grad night at Disneyland.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so dealing with the chaos from her because she keeps hounding me about stuff. But anyway, enough of that. How have you been? Yeah, no. How have you been the past couple of weeks?
Oh, man, it's been busy. Mostly, well, obviously the small squirrels over here, but it's been hot here, and it's been like the weather's been kind of weird. It's not like how on the West Coast has been, where it's been cooler weather and all this rain and blizzard warnings.
It's been weird because it'll be like a week ago, it was getting up into the high 70s, like it reached 80, and then it rained, and then it like went back down to the 50s and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So yeah, the weather's been weird here too.
It's here. We've had we have a heat wave that's coming through. We'll be at 103 on Wednesday, and then it's going to dip as a high of 77 to, I guess, like the mid 70s. So it's, I don't know, a little bipolar-ish, I guess, with the weather.
Right.
Just a hint. But
yeah.
I don't know. So that's been going on, and then I guess it's just getting through this spring. I don't know. It's supposed to be spring, but it doesn't. It's so hot right now. It feels like we're having early onset spring, which I'm not. No one's happy about this at all.
Yeah, bipolar weather right now.
Yeah, and it's never a good sign. When the weather's being this way, I'm like, so either we're going to get a bunch of rain that's going to come in, or we're just going to be like sweltering. So yeah, but I've been doing little side projects and stuff and just keeping my brain occupied. And um, yeah, that's about it really. And just keeping up
Nice.
with the news. It's been a little wild. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
I had
I
to
know
take a
we were.
break. That's why it's been like, okay, quiet because
Mhm.
I'm watching this shit play out, you
Right.
know, and it's kind of a slow moving traffic accident where
Hmm.
you see all these things coming at once, like we've talked about and touched upon many, many times. But
Right.
everything it's starting to add up. I mean, I feel terrible for the people of Turkey with their
Yeah.
earthquakes. That is
Oh,
horrific,
wow.
and Syria
Yeah.
as well.
Oh,
I
so
know
many
it's on the
people.
border.
So many people died. That's just crazy.
And it's still, I mean, they had those secondary massive
Yeah.
quakes.
The
Another,
aftershocks and everything.
yes, yep.
Hmm.
And then, well, even they had a second series of massive quakes after the initial one. Like they had in a different region of that area in Turkey, but more buildings collapsed and more people were killed. So
Wow.
they're dealing with a huge humanitarian crisis there in Turkey. So, you know, there are organizations and things like that that are out there that you can donate to help with the relief and to help them
Mhm.
with, I guess, resources. I will be sure to include that in the description box because that was horrific. You know, I have friends in Lebanon, and they were telling me they're like, it's just tragic. All of it is very tragic because you know it's the relationships between countries do vary. I know they have their political stuff, but
Right. Right.
you know, we're talking about people, not governments. And as much as governments are a pain in the ass, people are separate from. So it was good to remember that at wartime.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Do you know what the latest death toll is out there?
Currently, I can check. I know it's been going up, and it's scary.
Yeah.
You know,
Right. Right.
uh, it,
I know it's a lot. It's a big number. I was like, geez, when the first earthquake happened.
let's see here. Okay, I'm gonna look for the updated number. Okay, this was from 2 days ago from Al Jazeera.
Hmm.
They give a number here. Let me go ahead and
Yeah.
share my screen. I'm gonna be fancy. I'm gonna share my screen here in a sec. But yeah, like it looks like let's see here. There we go. Sorry, it took a second for whatever reason. The
No, you're good.
human error, lack of better words. Let's see here. Oh, I just went. Here we go. So it says in Turkey alone, 44,218 people have died as a result of the
Damn.
earthquakes. The country's disaster emergency management authority, the AFAD, said on Friday, while the latest announced death toll in Syria was 5,914. That's
Wow.
horrific.
Wow.
So yeah, and this is from Al Jazeera.
Cool.
But the death toll from both this Turkey and Syrian earthquakes is over 50,000.
I wish I'd say the video showing like the earthquake lights, like that was
Yeah.
going out before it happened. That's just wow.
Yeah, and it's tragic. I don't know. It was just this. It's watching the videos of the relief people trying to, rescue different buildings or locate families, and seeing photographs of fathers holding their daughters' hands
Right.
that are passed away because of the building collapsing. It's horrific, and I don't think it'll be fully appreciated in the international view until it's well over. And I'm glad that there is relief being sent to them. I just feel like, every little bit helps during crisis, and
Right.
I don't know. I feel terrible for the families that lost a loved one, or for those still missing or unaccounted for. So I imagine that these numbers will increase, a little bit. I'm hoping
Right.
it's no more loss, but I don't know. It's just a lot of wreckage. It really is.
Tragic either way. Very tragic. It's
But,
like, yeah.
But one of the things you and I were talking about earlier, as a joke, is
Right.
the censorship that's going on with YouTube, and I'm
Right.
not shocked by this, and a lot of people aren't.
Mhm.
At least those of us paying attention. They've been censoring for a while,
Right.
YouTube, but it's been for different reasons and different groups and things like that. But this is an article from the earlier part of this year of January, but it's starting to trickle down more and more. YouTube has a new monetization policy regarding profanity, and creators are unhappy with the rollout. I'm not going to read this whole article, but basically, people are having their channels demonetized, if not specific videos, or having videos, pulled in some cases, but most of the time it's just demonetization. And this is a good way of, in my opinion, censoring people,
Right.
by controlling their money and inflow. So, this link will be in the description box to this article. I'm not going to read this whole thing. I just wanted to touch upon it because of the changes to their policies regarding firearms as well, even forms of tobacco use, and of course drugs is a given, right? And oddly enough, drinking isn't an issue.
Wow.
Marijuana isn't a issue from what I understand, but once again, though, it is still an issue. It's just not demonetization leveled in certain areas. The profanity filter is because they're trying to corporatize YouTube as much as possible.
Right.
So they've been doing this for a while, and so in order to censor people, they use their money to make them shut up. And they've been doing this for years, man. And I would say over the last 10 to 15 years, they've been slowly, gutting YouTube of undesirables, and this is one way of doing it. So freedom of speech will be limited based on the money. So if you want to get paid, you better bend over, and people will. Or they'll have code words or different ways of saying things. Don't worry, they'll censor those words eventually too. Especially
the YouTubers that's making a lot of money, that has a lot of subscribers and stuff. Yeah, they definitely will.
Right.
It just basic, and YouTubers who rely on that money, that YouTube money anyway. So yeah,
right.
Unfortunately, it's kind of like you got to give in, I guess, if you want to keep that status. Keep making that money. It's unfortunate that it's like that, but they're
how these corporates are.
Yeah, censorship, same as Twitter, same as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of them. Same thing, and it's ridiculous.
And it's funny because it does stretch beyond just, okay, well, we want to make this advertiser friendly, but
right.
We had talked about a long time ago, I brought it up many times, it's the same way with film. And, the CCP guidelines, for example, of usage of tobacco or sexuality in a certain setting or settings or depictions are now an issue with the production of film, especially through companies like Tencent, which a lot of Hollywood here in the United States has been catering to over the years for freaking ever. There's a video that you can find about that, the censorship issue of how the contracts look in China and how they apply, or should I say China, whatever, how those censorship tactics work of, I guess, in a sense, taking the American media and bending the knee to the Chinese media to save money from having to reproduce or roll out a different type of film, if that makes sense, when they're taking projects overseas. So whether that be Marvel films to Mission Impossible or anything else, as long as they don't go against those particular guidelines, because they're trying to tap into that Asian market.
Yeah, China's a big market for them when it comes to the worldwide box office. That's a big moneymaker for them in China. So yeah,
and because it's so heavily controlled by the CCP in general, of course they want to be on the good graces of a communist government in order to produce and make films, whether that be DreamWorks Productions or, let's say Paramount or whatever, But it's just interesting because the censorship issue has interestingly bent the knee very much so to the governments that are foreign and domestic to an extent. And I also believe that the restriction on freedom of speech is very much connected to the WEF, the World Economic Forum's plans for, getting rid of misinformation. And I do think this stuff all aligns to one another. It's just an interesting tactic of how they're going about all of these things. And it's playing out beautifully. And as long as people continue to accept money over their freedom of speech, then I cannot tell you I have much empathy for what comes. I really don't, unfortunately. I wish I did, but I don't. Because I'm like, well, if you think it's not going to happen to you, it will. And inevitably they come for all of us, right?
Exactly. And
Oh,
they've
well.
been doing it for a while now. Now it's like becoming even more of a sticking point now, especially when it comes to monetization and everything.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. So you either shape up and follow the rules, or you ain't getting no money.
Get out.
That's it. Yeah, get out of here. You ain't getting paid. We ain't getting no money.
I said no.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so,
like that whole censorship stuff. I just wanted to tap on that because people were flipping out about it, and I'm like, this was coming, and
right.
it'll be beyond that. It's also on different language. Like if you discuss like the bad guys from World War II, such as Nazis, if you just me by saying that word can affect my algorithm. And that's how insane that it's going in. And you can't say anything about, let's say, abortion. Like certain topics are now placed at a different level of algorithm because it's, quote, not friendly. It's almost like they're trying to make, I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like Google and YouTube are like the Karens of a new generation.
Right.
And they're sitting there with all their luncheon friends worried about what the neighbors will think. Right?
Exactly.
Don't do that. What would the neighbors think? Don't. Oh, we can't talk about that. Let's just make it a safe space, but a safe space that extends to every portion of argument that will inevitably come our way. It's just a matter of time. So that's the reason why it's always important just to tap on those things that even though it may not seem like much, this is definitely leading up to the pitch.
Right.
And this is also going to lead to can't talk about war, can't talk about certain types of, pandemics, for example, or corporate corruption. It's going to extend to a lot of things given time. It already is, but it's just going to get worse. So when I see people that are like, oh, well, I don't want to lose my brand, or I don't want to lose my monetization because of a curse word or a certain word, these words are getting longer. The dictionary, the thesaurus, the lists are getting longer. And eventually you're not going to be talking about anything but entertainment bullshit that has no real value, okay, in the long term. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
The things that will matter, the freedom of speech that was extended to create books or materials or entertainment will be gone. That's my point. And if they can keep it, if they can censor the peasants, I guarantee you they will keep going as tightly as possible. And that's exactly what's happening. And you and I have talked about this so much, but that's the reason why I wanted to bring that up, because it is happening. And people are like, oh, you just need to watch your language. It's beyond that. It's words, it's phrases, it's topics. And if you can shut down people having open conversations in this type of forum, good luck to you. You know what I mean? Yeah. If that happens, I don't know, Rich.
Right. And how much is it going to take for people to wake up and say, you know what? No, we're not going to take this. No, we're not doing that. Skip the money. Y'all can keep the money. We ain't doing, but it ain't, unfortunately, it's never going to happen. There's going to be too many people that's like, I ain't losing my money. No, I'll go ahead and oblige to rules and all that. So,
absolutely.
It is what it is, unfortunately. But yeah, we've talked about this way back when, and we've seen it coming a long time ago, and now it's starting to come to fruition and becoming more so every day now. So, but it is Absolutely. What it is. I know what else is crazy is a lot of this other stuff that's been going on. We were talking about it earlier, especially with these accidents that's been happening across the country.
Oh, dude.
So
man.
I think the first thing that started was the derailment in Ohio.
Yes.
Which caused toxic waste to you see. Did you ever see the image of that cloud?
The cloud over
the train after the train.
Oh,
yeah, that looked crazy.
It looked like a nuclear bomb went off.
Right.
And it was an image. There was several different photographs of it, where at a distance you could see like what looked like a small missile or nuke of just
Right.
black smoke because they decided to burn the stuff.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my
So,
God.
so the Ohio derailment that happened. Um, oh wait, was it the Ohio derailment or was it the wait?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's
It's so many
caused
derailments. That's why we were talking.
a lot of toxic chemicals to get in the water and everything. And at first, when it first went down, the of course Ohio where it went down was asking for relief for help, and the government was like, no, you don't meet the qualifications. FEMA said the same thing. And
Right.
so what was so interesting about the situation was that I guess there was going to be some environmentalist consultants that was going to go out there and say, you know what, we're going to do it ourselves. We'll take a look.
Here's an image
And
of some of that smoke.
right,
That's from the initial, but they actually lit the chemicals on and all the from this actual accident. They lit it on fire.
right,
But really quick, for those who may not know, this is just a brief breakdown. At least 5 hazardous chemicals were released in East Palestine train crash as residents fear long-term effects. A train carrying hazardous materials heading from Pennsylvania to Illinois derailed in early February, causing a major fire and alarm over a possible imminent explosion. The situation has local people worried despite reassurances from officials and has highlighted how vulnerable many Americans are to similar events. Up to 2,000 residents living in the immediate area were evacuated as chemicals being carried by the train run by Norfolk Southern Corporation were released to prevent an explosion. Evacuated residents returned to their homes last week, but residents report concerns over the lingering effects of the chemicals in the air, water, and soil, even as officials monitoring the area have deemed it safe. Officials are still investigating the potential long-term environmental impacts of the derailment, and this is what we know about the derailment. So it happened on Friday the 3rd of February. At least 50 out of 150 train cars of a train heading from Conway, Pennsylvania to Madison, Illinois derailed. The train derailed in East Palestine, Ohio, a town about 5,000 residents along the Ohio and Pennsylvania border. A huge fire that spanned the length of the derailed cars erupted. No injuries or deaths were reported, thank God. Well, this is only from the initial crash. Residents within a 1-mile radius of the derailment were evacuated as officials noted there was over a dozen cars carrying vinyl chloride, a carcinogenic chemical, were involved in the derailment and could have been exposed to the fire. On Monday, the 6th of February, officials enacted a mandatory evacuation, threatening to arrest residents who refused to evacuate as fear of an explosion rose. So this goes on. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get through this. It was a matter of life and death, according to the governor, Mike DeWine. Crews ended up releasing toxic chemicals from 5 derailed tanker cars to prevent the explosion. Small holes were made into the train cars, whose chemicals were released into pits that then were lit on fire. Pictures of the chemical release showed huge clouds of black smoke. That's what Rich was mentioning earlier, billowing into the skies over homes. Evacuated residents who were staying at shelters and schools were given the clear to return to their homes on Wednesday, the 8th of February. So only 2 days later, they were sent back, and the officials deemed that the air and water samples were safe for their residents. Now this is some Aaron Brockovich right here. So what chemicals were released? So the most concerning chemical being carried by the derailed train was vinyl chloride, which is used to make polyvinyl chloride, or PVC, a hard resin used in plastic products. Vinyl chloride is colorless and highly flammable. It has been linked to a rare form of liver cancer as well as other types of cancer like leukemia and lung cancer. Short-term exposure effects include dizziness and drowsiness, while high exposure can lead to hospitalization and death. Another chemical on board was butyl, or I can't even pronounce that, so I apologize, acrylate, whatever. It's also used in plastic production. The EPA later released information that showed 3 previously unreported chemicals were also released upon the derailment, and those are listed here. in the article, and you can check out this article in the link, the description box below. Exposure to the chemicals can cause shortness of breath, burning in the eyes and skin, coughing, headaches, nausea, and among other symptoms. In total, the EPA has reported 5 chemicals that were contained in the rail cars were derailed, breached, or on fire in a letter the agency wrote to the Norfolk Southern. So basically, they're going through this article, just giving a brief rundown. This is from about a week ago. But since then, the EPA, they've been having to move all these toxins out of the area, meaning they have to get rid of the waste and all that. And the EPA recently, and this is as of Sunday, February 27th, the EPA announced that, you know what, we're going to have to take a break on this. They're temporarily halting the contaminated waste removal from the derailment site. That was reported today, primarily for different reasons, but they had said that basically they have been taking all the wastewater and soil so far has been transported to places like Texas. Where I live here in southern Texas, they've been bringing it down here for waste disposal, as well as Michigan, where officials have said that they were not given an adequate heads up. And that's correct, because down here in South Texas, they were not told this waste was coming down here either. It was just showed up. And that was something that our local news reported on here in southern Texas. The Ohio Governor's Office said that 20 truckloads, or approximately 280 tons, carrying hazardous solid waste, were to dispose of the waste at the Michigan Hazardous Waste Treatment and Disposal Facility, but that 5 trucks returned to East Palestine. A Texas hazardous waste treatment and disposal facility would not accept any more liquid waste, per the AP. So they're having a hard time getting rid of these, or transporting all of this liquid, but they're not giving heads up to any of the places they're sending them to, probably because these places would decline taking them, or they don't have the space, so they figure, well, we'll just send trucks and they'll just have to make do. So the EPA said that they'll ensure that all waste is disposed of in a safe and lawful manner at EPA certified facilities to prevent further release of hazardous substances and impacts to the communities. The EPA did not immediately respond to this particular article for any further comments about it, but the EPA is having a hard time trying to get rid of the waste right now, so they can do the work they need to do. That article in the description will be EPA temporarily halts the contaminated waste removal. But it's absolutely insane. The amount of damage to the environment is just, we're not going to really know truly how bad it is, I guess, for quite a bit. But still, right now, the other story that hit the news, sorry, I'm trying to grab all of these real quick and then we can get into that plane thing.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Just so people who may not be familiar with what's going on there, maybe they haven't been able to catch up, which I can completely understand with the news cycles we've had. If it's not one thing, it's something else. But there's several different stories that hit about this Ohio derailment, because one thing is that Biden has not gone to the actual location, or at least to Ohio, to meet with the officials, but apparently he's staying in contact. Pete Buttigieg, whatever, Petey boy, he just barely went out there to go see the site and speak with officials. Originally, he wasn't going to, and he downplayed the severity of the incident on the news. Pissed off a lot of people, upset a lot of the locals, and generally a lot of people were outraged by it. But he did end up going. Biden said that, well, you know, nobody's invited me formally, and there was no need for me to do that, you know, go out there, but I'm staying in contact. It's just weird. The way they're handling this is very nonchalant.
Right.
You know? So one of the things I wanted to show you this, because this is something you touched on earlier. This is some images. This is a visual guide. This is what the actual train accident looked like initially, with the smoke and the fire, and those are all the vehicles around trying to, you see a fire truck in the distance there.
Yeah.
And then this is just some photographs. Hopefully it'll load. It's thinking. So here's the maps of where it was headed and the incident area, which is down here in this little square. And this is just the they were showing the different camera locations of where they caught the train starting to light on fire. So this is a clip here. I'm going to try to blow it up. This is when it's first caught on fire.
Oh, wow.
So you can see at the distance of it going through this interpass, just going through a town. There's a camera that catches the fire breaking out underneath. So I don't know if hopefully everyone can see that on their screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Wow.
That's wild. And so that was the first. So that footage was captured in, was that Salem, Ohio? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Salem.
That seems right.
Yep.
So yeah, that's where the footage was captured of the train lighting, the beginning of the fire and the derailment, most likely the derailment part, meaning something was off. So here's some, aerial footage of the burned train cars, repair work on the tracks, burned train cars on the other side, hazardous material containers in the blue there on the right side. And I think it's sad that this isn't being treated as appropriately as it should be. But this is just showing you the Ohio River and the basin, because they were finding the chemicals in the Ohio River. I do have an article about that real quick. I just wanted to show that really quickly. All the links here will be in the description. I apologize. I'm just trying to run through it so we can move on to the good stuff. Like the other good stuff, this stuff is it's very sad.
Right.
It's just terribly sad, and it's going to affect this community for a very long time.
And these officials that said that they deemed it safe, same ones that said
sure,
Michigan water was safe. So, take that.
So the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, the ODNR, Tuesday, this was on February 15th, said that the chemicals from a recent train derailment have been found in waterways near the Ohio River. Now, keep in mind, this is also, the chemicals have started to show up in other states. Somebody said St. Louis was another one that was showing the chemicals traveling. So it got into the water.
Right.
So this article just breaks down what they found and the legalities associated with this, because this is a huge environmental cost. It's almost like it reminds me of BP a little bit.
Right.
The amount of cover up, and not even so much cover up, just I don't know what the best word for it is. I don't know. I've lacked the words.
There was a movie that came out a couple of years ago, not too long ago, but it was regarding what company was it? It starred Mark Ruffalo, and he was a lawyer for these farmers, and it was based on a true story. I'm trying to think of the freaking name of the company. They do like the I hate forgetting stuff. What is it? Dark Waters. It was called Dark Waters.
Okay.
And it was about what was going on with DuPont. There we go, DuPont. What was going on, what they were putting in water and all of that.
Oh.
They were trying to DuPont was trying to cover it up and everything. And they built like a new school or a new park and all, trying to hush everybody up. And yeah, it was a good, I sat down and watched it. It was like, it wasn't even on my radar, but I seen it on TV. I was like, oh, I'll go ahead and take a look, watch it. But
right.
Yeah, it's called Dark Waters. And it was about what the DuPont, what they were covering up. DuPont was covering up. It's taking place in Parkersburg, West Virginia. And it was like a number of unexplained animal deaths that was going on and from the farmers' animals in Parkersburg, West Virginia. So yeah, if anybody gets a chance, check out Dark Waters.
Yeah, this what's on the screen right now is actually just a distribution map of the chemicals, the fires of these chemicals that they decided to set these fires, like in the article discussed. This is the distribution map of the particles moving. So wow. This is right. It's huge. So it was going up into Canada and the northeast areas, and so they were. This was a huge deal. So at the time, right. This is a map. This little particle cross section here. This is from February 8th. This was posted on the 15th. But this stuff is in the air. It's going to very likely be in the atmosphere. who knows exactly what the ramifications of them burning this chemical will really do on the environment, but this was a very bad move. And what's funny is I'm looking here at Twitter and I see that under trending, Buttigieg is trending on Twitter, and I'm just curious to see what. All right, I don't know. I don't know why he's trending, but I'm sure it's a bunch of shit talking. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. Just guessing, but a lot of people are angry about how it wasn't handled and how it was downplayed and the effects long term on these communities.
Right.
In the description box in the video area, there will be a wonderful interview with Erin Brockovich, who went out to Ohio to the nearby area, or actually, I think she actually is in that area, Palestine, East Palestine. And she was talking about how the community should work together. They should not rely entirely on science, but to do their research as a community, to band together and to seek real answers. It was a wonderful interview. It's not very long, absolutely worthy a listen. It's in the video section in this video here, but please take a look at it. But one last thing, when you mentioned like animal deaths, and this is a very big deal, the animal deaths for the East Ohio, this is something that came out, I believe, on Friday.
Oh, damn.
And East Palestine train derailment killed more than 43,000 fish and animals, officials said.
Wow.
Basically, it says natural resource officials estimate that more than 43,000 animals have died in and around East Palestine, Ohio. Officials estimated 38,222 minnows and around 5,550 other species such as fish, crayfish, amphibians were killed during the derailment. None of the species killed are threatened or endangered. Well, that's nice. But this article gives a little breakdown on how many animals have been affected. And yes, this does affect the life cycle, even though it's fish and it's just the local, it could be hatcheries, who knows, but just the animals naturally in the environment.
Right. That depend on those fish and food and all. Yeah. So yeah,
it's a food chain.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's freaking crazy. And it kind of leads to what I was getting ready to bring up. So the thing that makes this so weird is that, the quote unquote officials said, oh no, we deem it safe, blah, 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 blah. Well, this environmental firm was going to send 5 consultants down there to do their own little investigation.
Right.
And let me go ahead and bring up this article here. Let's see, where is it at? Oh, here we go. All right. So it's an AP article. Ignore the finish line stuff. I was looking at shoes. So they're going to start the investigation into the plane crash that killed 5. And this happened last week. I know it happened last week. I'm just trying to. Was it last week or the week before?
It was probably last week.
Okay. So anyway, 5 environmental consultants were killed leaving out of the Bill and Hillary Clinton National Airport. You know what that airport is known for? I didn't even know that. The FBI was using that airport. Remember that? Did you ever see that movie, American Made, or with Tom Cruise?
Wow, yeah, a while ago.
That was the airport where he was smuggling in drugs for the FBI or CIA, one of the two. I think that CIA. That was the airport. It was named something else. I forgot the name of it. It was a different name for that airport. But anyway, that was the same airport that they were using when they were smuggling in drugs and stuff, when he was smuggling in drugs for the government. Anyway, it's just a crazy coincidence that during this environmental disaster, when our own government was downplaying it, saying, "Oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's safe. Blah 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 blah." Okay, this environmental firm's like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and check this out for ourselves and see what's going down. They get killed.
And these are the investigators who are heading out there.
Right.
It's just I know coincidences happen,
right? But that's just too easy. Like, come on, y'all gonna shut this down right before they go and investigate it. The link's in the chat, so you can put that later for anybody who wants to take a look at it.
Absolutely. I'll make sure it's in the description so you can check it out.
Right. So yeah, they identified the employees: Gunter Beatty, Kyle Bennett, Micah Kendrick, Sean Sweeney, Lamarcus Walker. So it says the crash occurred as a line of thunderstorms that the National Weather Service said included. So wait a minute. Any other time, if you've flown a commercial plane, if there's a storm that's getting ready to affect, and you know, I've been through this multiple times, especially flying out of Charlotte. If there's a storm, especially a thunderstorm or whatever, that's in the area or whatever, they will halt those planes until it clears up. Like if you're getting ready to fly out, you'll sit on the tarmac or you'll sit at the gate on a plane until they feel like, okay, you could go ahead and give you time to fly out. So it's just weird that they gave them the okay or whatever when they knew that you have these whole bunch of thunderstorms. They're like, yeah, go ahead. You're good.
I know. That's the part that's a little confusing to me. I get that there's naturally going to be like, you know, storms. But I guess my question is, how did this happen?
A line of thunderstorms that was, you know, like, come on. Like, that's just too fishy. But, yeah, so that's what's going on right now. They're investigating that. But the whole East Palestine derailment is a horrible situation. But the weird thing is there's other events that took place within like the same week or following week, different incidences. There's one, not of all.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was something I you know, you read about it because there was so much going on during that window of time.
Right.
That Rich is the one that grabbed onto that because I'm like, oh, it blew my, it kind of like slipped. I don't know how to explain this, but it slipped my mind. But I remembered hearing about all of these other derailments, and I know that derailments happen, and yes, they can be somewhat common, right? Which is especially with our failing infrastructure to an extent. However, the timing is impeccable.
Right. So, for example, and I'll put this next link in the chat, but there was, let me go ahead and share this real quick. There was another derailment in Nebraska. So it says more than 24 Union Pacific train cars carrying coal derailed early Tuesday morning in Nebraska at roughly 1:45 a.m. Central Standard Time. 31 Union Pacific train cars derailed in the city of Gothenburg, Nebraska, according to the Union Pacific spokesperson Kristen South. That's weird, last name South.
Right.
No injuries. One of the train tracks near the derailment site reopened at 8 a.m. They're still under investigation as far as the cause of the derailment. And it comes weeks after the East Palestine derailment. So there's that. But not just derailments. There's also these fires that took place, and also other kind of hazmat spills. For example, here in my home, Phoenix, there was a hazmat or a 100-gallon fuel spill closes the intersection at in Phoenix, and I'll share that here real quick. So in a span of a couple of weeks, so yeah, here we go. Hazmat response to a 100-gallon fuel spill closes intersection in Phoenix. They're called to a Circle K in Phoenix to contain a fuel spill from a tanker that hit a wall at a gas station. Guess a crash caused a puncture to the side of the tank. Yeah. So it shut down a few gas stations as far as like there's a couple of QTs that didn't have gas. There's some Circle K. So I didn't know that was the cause of it at the time. Because I pulled out, I was like, man, they ain't got no gas up in here. But yeah, I found out this what happened.
Insane.
I guess there was another toxic, and there was a spill in Tucson there's a couple of things that happened. So yeah, you have the gas spill in Phoenix. You also have a fire at Oak Ridge. There was Y12 uranium processing facility that went down. Um, that happened. Let's see here. So February 22nd, at a fire at a uranium processing facility at the Y12 National Security Complex led to the evacuation of hundreds of workers on the morning of February 22nd. Officials said the fire was quickly contained and no radioactive material was released.
That's not horrifying, though. I mean, I don't know. It seems like a lot of spills and chills. I mean, is this as a result of, let's say, a recovery from COVID? Or is this a lack of infrastructure or safety protocols or laying off, your workers? You know what I mean? So you don't have sufficient coverage or cutting corners? Or is this something else, right?
All right. So I was very rudely interrupted by myself. I apologize for that. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program. I was talking about the fire at Oak Ridge uranium processing facility.
Mhm.
There was a fire at the uranium processing facility at the Y12 National Security Complex. It led to the evacuation of hundreds of workers February 2nd. The officials said the fire was quickly contained. No radioactive material was released. Um, the Oak Ridge uranium processing facility is a highly secure facility where experts manufacture parts for America's nuclear weapons and provide enriched uranium to the U.S. Navy. The fire started around 9:15 a.m. Hours after the fire, the officials said all evacuated workers were accounted for and no injuries or contaminations were found. The building's air monitors did not go off, which meant no radioactive material was released. As of that afternoon, they said they did not know what caused the fire or the extent of the damage. So yeah, that's what went down at that. And I guess a good thing that nothing did get released, or
And what's the interesting
especially.
part of this article is that it
Mhm.
says here, what is the Y12 nuclear complex? The security complex has been in Oak Ridge since 1943 when the 811-acre Y12 was built as part of the Manhattan Project. Interesting. I can share audio because I think I unclicked it because I'm a go-getter. Oh, I did have audio. Okay, so here's the article again. And these are the residents. They're experiencing a lot of symptoms. And, there's definitely some stuff going on here. So let me go ahead and play the video. Let me know if you can hear it okay.
It was stolen. And there's
Yep.
not,
Okay.
you quickly learn that you don't have a voice in this. They don't care. They're going to hush it up. They're going to push it through. The mayor of East Palestine yesterday at the Trump Circus that came to town, and I'm a Trump voter, right? I live in East Palestine. We didn't need that right now. But the mayor at this press conference says, hey, media, go away. We don't need you anymore. That's the last thing we need. We need this. I wrote an open letter to the mayor telling him how to take care of this situation because he's been non-existent. I know he gets a lot of positive press, and he was in a rough spot. I totally get it. Guy totally was not the guy for this mission.
My house is 900 feet from the actual derailment. It's been tough. We're not sleeping. We're getting sick with eye infections, respiratory headaches, sore throats. My grandkids have been traumatized. They're worried all the time about the train. It's always, we hear the train, the train, the train. And you don't realize how traumatic it was until you hear something out of the norm. When we hear a fire truck come out this way now, we're scared. We go running, we go to see. You don't realize it until you actually live in it and see and hear all of the noise and the smells and everything. It's tough.
I work in East Palestine at Rural Arena.
Here's that guy.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And it's just been like this ever since the train blew up.
It's crazy. What does your voice really sound like, Wade? I know you can't tell us, but is it like that? You sound like Michael Jackson normally?
Lately, I sound like Mickey Mouse.
Yep.
He does.
He's got a deep, raspy voice normally.
Other than that, I just go and get tested and get checked out.
Well, what are they telling you?
My doctor says I most definitely have the chemicals in me. And,
but he has to find a toxologist to get properly.
They keep telling me come up here, but nobody has nothing.
When you say nobody has anything, like there are no doctors in town to be able to help you?
No. That's what they tell me. I gotta make a phone call and schedule an appointment with somebody.
Wow.
Are you going to do that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Is it just affecting your voice, Wade, or are you feeling it in other areas of your body?
My chest hurts at nighttime. It feels like I'm drowning a little.
He wakes up every morning.
I have a hard time breathing. Yeah. I cough up phlegm a lot. Yeah. But other than that, like.
And were you in pretty good health, Wade, up until now?
Yeah.
Only a 40-year-old man. That's not very old.
No. But now I'm just waiting around.
So here's a video here that's being shown of a girl throwing a rock into the East Palestine River. Look at the chemicals that come up.
Wow.
So that's what the river looked like. This video was viral for quite a bit. Yeah. And so this is a real thing. They were testing the water. And now keep in mind, this video was taken after they were told the water was safe to drink and to bathe in and God knows what else. Well, it's spread. And people are very worried about their health and how this is going to affect them. And the fact is that the media is important. It is important to be there. And it sucks because Trump came in, right? And I get it, right? He came in and he was like, I'm here to help. And hi, I'm here for my political podium. But the point is, these residents is the last thing they need is the grandstanding and the mayor and his bullshit. They need the media there. They need people there to extend how serious the conditions are. I think it's important that there's a YouTube channel that somebody puts together to start documenting what's going on in their area and start extending the olive branch to YouTubers or other people out there with their symptoms and what they're experiencing, and utilize activists like Erin Brockovich, for example, reach out to her or her group and other agencies and community, environmentalists also. Setting your politics aside, this is going to poison the community, and it's something that'll affect them for years to come. And God, I hope for the people that isn't the case for their health as much. I mean, I wish I could say that you could save this community from what it's already undergoing already. It's kind of like you can only intervene so much, but they need resources. And I think that the distinct silence on this could be politically motivated, I think pretty strongly, if it's not cash. And I know a lot of the lobbyists were definitely for this railroad were lobbying in the last election and since then in different bills and stuff to limit safety protocols. So there's all kinds of shade here. And I think if you see smoke, there's definitely a fire. So don't ever have someone tell you they ain't no fire if there's smoke. They're full of shit.
And with the reach they can have with YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, they can definitely let their voices be heard. It's a very crazy situation, and it kind of reminds me like I don't want to say Chernobyl, but close to it, where ain't no telling how long it'll be considered normal there.
Right.
Years, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Maybe a decade.
No, it's true. It's very
Yeah.
true. I mean, we're
Right.
looking at a long-term, I don't know, poisoned environment, and not to mention just not so much even just the environment, but the citizens and children, and any of them. Will this affect fertility? Will this affect, what types of cancers will be as a result of this, and the necessity of
Birth defects. What will
clarification.
happen to future babies born there?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm.
So anyway, I just thought it would. That was an interesting article, and I know it's a relatively newer article. I'm sure there will be many more. The article had went on just to describe other symptoms that people are experiencing, but at the end of the day, it's very important that everyone's heard, not just the individuals in that video, but anybody else that's in these communities, to reach out to the media, reach out to those who are willing to help and assist them. And I don't know. I think what's scary is that you're dealing with a political machine as well.
Right.
And corporations are their own form of politics. I get it. But I don't know. I just think there's some shadiness afoot, you know?
Yeah. Well, there's always an issue whenever these big companies or whatever have a situation like this. They
Mhm.
try to sweep it under the rug as fast as possible, pay off whoever, to minimize the damage on their end. Just
Right.
like I was telling you about that movie Dark Waters, where it was DuPont, um, and the BP, the whole BP oil thing. Like all these companies that have these major accidents, they try to hurry up and pay off whoever and do whatever they can to
Yep.
kind of sweep it under the rug and keep it moving.
Yep. Because it's like it's just part of that mechanism of, we got to save money, we got to detract it, and this is only of what we know of. So I imagine just like how PG and E had been in the past with poisoning people and then claiming the chemicals were healthy and safe. Meanwhile, people were dying of
Hmm.
cancers and infertility and God knows what else. Um, they are able to get away with it because of the endorsed silence of being paid off,
Right.
and also having people sign disclosures without an attorney present. And I think it's important, like Erin Brockovich was talking about in her video, the importance of doing your own research, the importance of your community and speaking to one another and banding together. And that's the truth. The only reason why PG&E, it wasn't even so much because of Erin's work. That was, the movie they did about her. But it wasn't because, yes, she did a great deal of effort, and she definitely advocated and helped people. And she's not a professional scientist, okay? She's a normal
Right.
person who's
Right.
very smart and street smart about it, that went, no, this is bullshit. And she started connecting dots. But what won that case was the community's involvement and the banding together of that community to fight it in court and not take a settlement and not back down. And it takes a lot of courage to do so. And I do believe this community, given the opportunity, and if we can set politics aside, can make an impact. And if it can stop, the buck stops here, make it an example. Because I mean, even what happened with the BP oil spill was a horrific environmental event that, in my opinion,
Right.
will never truly be satisfied of the damage that it did in the Gulf. But they got
Right.
away with it, in my opinion. I don't give a shit how much money they paid out. They weren't punished strong enough. And just like the,
Right.
other corporations that do this, like what we were talking about DuPont earlier, they get away with this. It's basically getting away with long-term murder. And
Right.
I don't think so. I think there has to be a line drawn at some point. So, anyways, but there's been a lot of all kinds of crap floating around. Speaking of floating around, see what I did there? Um,
Yeah, that transition. Yeah,
hey,
transition.
almost
There you
professional.
go.
This is a close-up of the Chinese spy balloon back from February
Mhm.
3rd. This was taken over Missouri. I will have the link to all of the links, all of the articles and images and videos that you will see within this video are going to be in the description below. But this is an image of the actual spy balloon up close and personal through T. Schlitt. Oh, Schlitt. Sorry, my guy. I know I missaid your name. Whoever this person is, I apologize. But they did a wonderful photograph here of the close-up of this. They claimed it was a science weather balloon. China did, and this is what it looked like. The weather balloons I've seen don't look like this.
Right.
They usually have more stuff hanging from them, meaning they have more. I don't know. The ones I saw for NASA and a couple other places in New Mexico that would put them up usually had like a dangling piece from the bottom with additional, like, sensors and all this other stuff. But this, they believed that this, from what I was reading, they believed that this was being remotely, how do you say it? Remotely positioned and driven on its own. So meaning somebody was actually moving it along. It wasn't something where it was just floating along, following this jet stream, all casual. This is the one that was shot down off the coast, the East Coast area, over the ocean. And China wanted their toy back, but we didn't. As far as I'm aware, we haven't given it back to them yet. So it's
Like,
so
nah,
ridiculous. So since then,
finders keepers.
exactly. Since that happened, of course, China was upset. It was considered an incident. There was a lot of outcry for numerous reasons. So this is an article from February 5th. It says U.S. downs Chinese balloon drawing a threat from China. Ooh, spooky. From AP. It says the U.S. military on Saturday shot down a suspected Chinese spy balloon off the Carolina coast after it traversed sensitive military sites of North America. China insists the flyover was an accident involving a civilian aircraft and threatened repercussions. President Joe Biden issued the order, but had wanted the balloon downed even earlier on Wednesday. He was advised that the best time for the operation would be when it was over water, U.S. officials said, for obvious reasons, because in some cases, some of these balloons could carry, I don't know, you just don't know what's involved in it, number one. But the EMPs can be utilized in these types of balloons, as weapons. And I don't know if we were to that extent of dramatics, meaning I don't believe it was, they thought it was an EMP, but I think there was better safe than sorry, because if it does crash into the earth, you're looking at, I don't know, could be hundreds of miles of just debris, and you don't want that hitting civilians. But the article goes on to say that U.S. officials said this. Okay, military officials determined that bringing it down over land from an altitude of 60,000 feet would pose an undue risk to people on the ground. China responded that it reserved the right to, quote, take further actions, unquote, and criticized the U.S. for, quote, an obvious overreaction and a serious violation of international practice, unquote. In its statement Sunday, China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that China will resolutely uphold the relevant company's legitimate rights and interests, and at the same time reserving the right to take further actions in response. China's Ministry of Defense echoed the statement later in the day, saying that it reserves the right to take necessary measures to deal with similar situations. The presence of the balloon in the skies above the U.S. this week dealt a severe blow to an already strained U.S.-Chinese relations that have been in a downward spiral for years. It prompted Secretary of State Anthony Blinken to abruptly cancel a high-stakes Beijing trip aimed at easing tensions. I think that's funny. So, due to the tensions that were already rising, we decided to add more tensions on top of the tensions. We're not going to be coming out to visit. So, yeah.
Add more fuel to the fire.
Yeah. And there's an image of one of the fighters going after it. This is a small slideshow of them. There's the fighter with the air balloon there.
I seen the clip. I don't know if it was that one or it was a different one, but I see the clip of them shooting it down.
Right. It's so ridiculous. But yeah, there's videos out there of them downing the balloon. So if anyone's interested, I actually have that video, I think.
Oh, okay. Do we have World War III on our bingo card for this year.
Well, we're getting close. So that
I
the spy
mean,
balloon thing, there's
geez.
been other incidences of the different spy-like balloons. Some could be weather. We don't know. One was shot down in Canada by the Canadians. We've had a
Yeah.
couple extra ones. I know in South America they had a couple. People losing their
Wasn't there
minds.
one like up in Alaska or something? I think there was one up in Alaska.
Yeah, Alaska had one off the. Yeah, it was off the shore. They haven't really. What's the word? They have not really discussed that very much. Oddly
Right.
enough, that
Well,
one's an
it's
odd
funny
one.
because like after that, then there was like all these quote unquote unidentified aerial phenomenon or whatever that they were shooting down or supposedly shot down. Reports of UFOs or whatever being shot down. So,
And that's the part where it's like, okay, now it's getting a little wilder. And oh my God, the Pentagon had released a statement saying, about the UFOs, we don't believe it's extraterrestrials. Okay, Pentagon? Like, I didn't think that was the issue, but are you just clarifying for... That seems really dumb to me.
Right.
I'm like, why are you talking about this? Is this like the beginning of the end or what?
Like we're gonna have to tell them sometime. Like we gonna have to let them know what's up.
The end is near.
Yeah,
it's the rapture. It's the rapture. Just what we need: more rapture videos talking about PlanetX.
No.
But one of the other things that there was an alleged retaliation by China that was very minor but upsetting to people living in Hawaii. And it was the presentation of green, almost like lack of better words, like a green lasers. And so here's this article here. It says experts, and this is from February 10th. Experts believe Chinese satellite fired green lasers over Hawaii. Late last month, mysterious green laser beams were spotted from Hawaii's tallest peak. Experts initially said the burst of laser beams was emitted by a NASA spacecraft, though that was proven incorrect this week, with evidence pointing to a Chinese satellite. Space experts at the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan initially tweeted on January 30th that one of their cameras captured green laser lights in the cloudy sky over Hawaii. Okay. The lights are thought to be from a remote sensing altimeter satellite, and they gave the court, I guess, the information on that. But on February 6th, 1 week later, the NAOJ, Japanese guys, issued a correction on YouTube that specified the laser beams weren't from a U.S. spacecraft, but the most likely candidate was a Chinese satellite. So according to Dr. Martino Anthony, a NASA scientist working on the Atlas satellite, it is not by their instrument but by others. A correction note was given. His colleagues, Dr. Avero Eisenhoff, did a simulation of the trajectory of the satellites at a similar instrument and found most likely a candidate. Okay, so this is the video of the bursts. I'm going to go ahead and play this. I'm going to mute it because there's no need for any. Can you see it okay? There we go.
Yep. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I see it.
So it will speed up a little bit. See, look at that.
Wow.
Yeah, there we go. They enhanced the contrast, obviously, because of the nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. So yeah, that's the satellite imagery. So I don't know. I don't know if that was retaliation or if it's just the United States, throwing the dart back at China again and saying, "Oh no, we didn't do this. This was China." So following weeks, we had other incidences of different spy balloons throughout the United States floating around and shot down or taken down or whatever. Like you were saying, the one in Alaska, that one they haven't really elaborated on them. This one I'll have to check up on in a later time, but yeah, that's the stuff there. And when you were talking about is our bingo card full yet as we head into possibly World War III? I don't know. We're kind of in a weird
alien invasion, one of the Yeah, one of the two.
Yeah, we're in an alien invasion slash World War III slash rapture.
There we go.
Rapture. Oh Lord. Basically, one of the things that we talked about earlier in brief, we're not going to get too dipped into it because we have some other topics we want to hit on. Let me pull this up. I should have put my elevator music on. But one of the things that came out was a article that was released by a Pulitzer Prize or journalist, Seymour Hersh, from February 8th. And it says, title of the article is How America Took Out the Nord Stream Pipeline. The New York Times called it a mystery, but the United States executed a covert sea operation that was kept secret until now. And so this is a great article. It's going to be in the description box. Please check it out. It'll be under the title there, How America Took Out the Nord Stream Pipeline. And it basically discusses how the United States played a major role in taking down the Nord Stream pipeline. As a result of this article, things got a little nasty. The news started to spread. Now, the thing about Seymour Hersh is that he is a German, and he is concerned because of what Germany is getting dragged into this. Nord Stream pipeline obviously services their country. This affected a lot of Europeans, but as a German, especially, they're having altercations already with Russia a lot, where there's been threats made back and forth. And there was an article here where it was an interview with Mr. Hersh. Joe Biden blew up the Nord Stream because he didn't trust Germany. The interview with Seymour Hersh particularly moved our readers this week, and he accuses the U.S. of destroying the Nord Stream. And that was his biggest issue, is that he feels like it's pushing Germany into war with Russia by either intimidation or simply by saying, wag the dog, in a sense. Like, oh, no, that didn't happen. We didn't do this. That was Russian. It was all a concocted, I guess, blame game. So the article goes into it a little bit more, and he was Biden literally said, if Russia invades, there will be no more Nord Stream 2. We will put an end to the project. And when a reporter asked how exactly he planned to do that, since the project was primarily under German control, Biden just said, I promise we'll be able to do it. And that's what Hersh breaks down, is the fact that this was being used to manipulate others into war. So that article will be in the description. I highly recommend reading it. It's kind of pushing us in the direction of World War III even more. I mean, outside of all the other nonsense that's gone on, and there's been a lot. One other thing here. Sorry, I'm cleaning screens out just a bit. One thing that happened I want to say less than a few weeks ago, was a statement from the United States on February 13th. The United States tells citizens to leave Russia immediately. On February 13th, the United States has told its citizens to leave Russia immediately due to the war in Ukraine and the risk of arbitrary arrest or harassment by Russian law enforcement agencies. U.S. citizens residing or traveling in Russia should depart immediately, the U.S. Embassy in Moscow said. Exercise increased caution due to the risk of wrongful detentions. Do not travel to Russia. So this is something that popped up, and now it just kind of puts all this stuff into motion. There's a lot of positioning going on right now with China and Russia, the Ukraine, and during the whole Ohio derailment issue, or actually just after it happened, Biden went to the Ukraine to go spend some quality time with Zelensky because they like cuddling.
Wow.
He was over there though, dude. He gave him hugs. He's like, it's, we're here for you. That's what I took from it.
Right.
But after Biden was giving away free hugs, obviously he was making a stance against Russia by making his public appearance and saying, stick it to Russia, F Putin, watch me dance, that kind of thing. So that's my summary of what Biden was doing as
basically.
That's what I took from it. I was like, okay.
Right.
But so yes, World War III was on my bingo card, and I think we're probably going to have, I don't know, sometime this year we're officially going. I already have half a stamp for a couple of them, but this will be a full stamp. Yeah.
Right.
But that's
Mm-mm-mm.
the backstory on that one, though. That's wild. What do you think of all that, Rich, with the Ukraine thing?
Very interesting. Yeah, when we were talking about it earlier. I mean, it's funny. It doesn't surprise me, especially if they're trying to incite something, get something started. Why not? Why not do this something like that and then blame Russia? Like, oh yeah, yeah, no, that was them, man. You need to check them out. They're the ones that did it. So it doesn't.
About Putin.
Yeah,
We don't talk
yeah,
about.
we're we're creeping closer and closer to World War III.
Yeah, we are.
And the tensions are real thick between the U.S., between Russia and China, because
Oh,
you
geez,
already
yeah.
know
And Iran.
Russia and China. Yeah, Russia and China's going to probably team up.
Oh,
And
they are. You know?
yeah, yeah. Like the fall of the U.S., it would not shock me.
Dude.
We've been talking about something like this for a while now, and for whatever reason, now it looks like it's more realistic than ever. But yeah, like as crazy as it is, like a lot of it doesn't shock me at
Right.
all. And
It's sad
with
in a
this
way,
article,
isn't it?
right, exactly. And with this article, I mean, he's just telling it like it is. Like, hey, they're trying to get something started.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm not surprised at all by it.
And I think that has to be a reminder to all Americans not to get too. Everyone's got propaganda. Every government has propaganda. Everyone has their ulterior motives. And they also enjoy utilizing the lives of their citizens as collateral damage. So
Right.
they've done it historically, and they will continue to do so. Everyone always talks about the winners write history, right? And they try to change a lot of perceptions, whether that's of their history itself by rewriting it or pretending it never happened, or creating a whole new narrative. I mean, whole new narrative as to why they needed to do something. It's like, once again, going back to that post 9/11 of Iraq and the invasion, and going through that process, all in the hopes for weapons of mass destruction that apparently just never manifested. So
No.
yeah, I'm like,
And if you don't think your U.S. government is capable of killing their own, just research the Northwoods Project or Project Northwoods or whatever. So yeah, they're more than capable of in starting something to get their complete their goal. And whether that means sacrificing some bodies, they will have no problem doing it. That's what they were planning on doing during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh
They were going to they're trying to set up, quote unquote terrorist attacks, buses, blow up buses and planes and all of that, and blame the Russians or blame Cuba, one of the two. But yeah.
So we're gonna move on to happier topic. Well, interesting topics, if you will. The first, I guess, do you want to do the Nibiru one? The
PlanetX one? Let's get that quick one, a quick Nibiru update.
Okay. Yeah, it's a video that Rich found.
Right. So
mysterious.
It's a crazy video because like it was in the middle of a storm. And in the video, it's all red, like the background's all red, the storm. But in that video, if you pay close attention, you can see the outline of like some planetary body, a huge planetary body that looks like it's being covered up during this storm. And it was crazy because when we're talking about it, I was going crazy because I couldn't find it. Then I finally found it and showed it to you. And we're just like, wow, you see this big, huge outline of this planetary body in the middle of the storm. Pretty crazy. It's a quick video. But yeah, it shows, if you pay attention to it, you'll see this outline of this planetary body.
And, keep in mind, I did look for the original, but it looks like the user that had uploaded it, I can't find it on her I can't find it on her feed, so I don't know if she removed it. But she's still there. Her username has changed since then, but the individual that posted on her behalf, looks like they are like friends. So they do talk off and on, but most of her channel is just, she's voicing her opinions on different topics, and I highly recommend checking her channel out, but it'll be in the link will be in the description below under the video section. But this is the video I'm probably going to play. I should be able to play this. It's a TikTok video. I should be fine. But you'll be able to find all of the links for it. So I'm going to share that. All right. Sorry, this video is going here. Hold on. I'm going to share the volume. I hate that it auto plays, man. Stop it.
Right.
Stop it.
And she recorded it, and I edited it. So she spotted it, and she recorded it, and I edited it so you can see it very better. So here is the video.
Oh my God, they're like look. What the freak is that? Oh, damn, look what I got. Oh my God. They trying to hide it, look. Look. Yes. You see it? Oh my God.
It's a circle.
Do y'all see this? This literally chemtrail over this.
Okay. So we'll back it up a little bit.
Yeah, because you really got to pay attention to it. You got all these flashes. It's hard to see it with the red, but
there's a line right on the horizon, like where the arrow is. It's kind of like you start to because it's hard to see it because of the quality of the video and how dark it is.
Right.
I know they tried a filtration system, so it kind of helps. But what she's discussing is you see this giant outline of something obscured by the clouds. And the arrow, it moves around a lot because of, she's freaking out. So,
yeah.
All right, I'm just going to mute it.
Yeah, so you'll see the flash there right there. You see this outline of this huge either planetary body or something. It looks freaking crazy.
Yeah,
but she noticed it and she freaked out over it.
Yeah, I'm just backing up again. And so he edited the video to kind of, all right, so there we go.
Yeah, so you see that outline right there.
It does take like a minute to see it. It was during a lightning storms.
Yeah. It's like a crazy storm or lightning storm going on. But yeah, you see this big, huge outline. And she was freaking out because she's like, it's a planet. They're hiding this, trying to cover up this planet.
Yeah. Like
so yeah,
really see it at certain angles. Right. And obviously it's just the way the lightning is going. There we go.
Yeah, but you see it kind of like right there, like that big, huge outline of something huge, massive behind the clouds that she noticed. And that was a good pickup. She was able to see that. And you could tell like how she was freaking out about it.
See, like, yeah.
Yeah.
See the curve at a certain angle. And
Right.
I muted it because he talks over it too. So it's like, okay.
Right.
The outline. Yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah, you could say it's a lot of different things, but because of the filtration on the camera and you have the lightning, that line.
Right, yeah.
I mean, that line.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
It really is. So, yeah, that's crazy. Rich had seen this on his timeline, and he's like, I just want to show this to you because it's so wild.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before, honestly. I was like, what the hell is this? Now, I mean, obviously, there could be scientific explanations.
Right. Freaking crazy.
Because it could be just, atmospheric and all this shit, but it's still pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. I'm still mixed on it, but it's still an interesting video. But she claims it was a planet being or at least she
And,
believes.
and the weird thing is, that's not the first person who said something similar. But she was like the one that had that footage.
Right.
But I've heard even my I'll tell a quick story. My best friend, one night he was taking out the trash, and he just happened to look up at the night sky after he threw away the trash, and then he was walking back to his house, and he happened to look up, and there was this quick flash he set up in the sky, and it showed this huge planet. That's the way he described it. It was a huge planet, an outline of this huge planet, and he said it was quick, and he was sitting there froze for like 5 minutes, just stuck, looking up at the sky because he couldn't believe what he saw.
So it's almost
So
like
yeah,
if it's
there's been other reports. What was that? I'm sorry.
So is it kind of like it? I don't know. I guess how was the clouds?
Well,
at
see, the
time
difference
you
is
saw it?
there was no clouds.
Okay, so it was like
Yeah,
almost like atmospheric, like an angling.
right.
Almost
He looked
time.
up at the night sky, and there was this big flash, and he seen this planet, and like it was so quick. He just happened to look up at the time it flashed, and he seen this planet, right? So, like he said, he'll never forget it. Like he thinks, even every once in a while we talk about it, he brings it up because he still can't believe what he saw. He was sitting there froze for like 5 minutes, looking up at the sky because he couldn't believe it.
I was gonna say, I can imagine that would freak me the hell out because it'd be like, did
Right.
I see that? Am I
Yeah,
seeing?
he said it was so quick. Like if you wasn't paying, you wasn't going to see it if you wasn't paying attention. And unless you reported it, nobody's going to believe you. You know. But he's on the same level because he's been following, Nibiru as much as I have. So like when he's seen it, he already knew like
What it was.
Yeah. So it just freaked him out because he never seen something like that massive.
It'd be
in
good
the
to have
sky
him
like
on
that.
one day just to talk about it.
Oh yeah.
You know, I know it's a
Definitely.
little, it can be, you can kind of feel like foolish in a sense when you're talking about stuff. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, but
Right,
people
right.
really shouldn't. If you see something, say something, right? So
Right.
if you see some funky shit in the sky, it might be a good idea to mention it, even if it's a nothing thing, right? Because those
Right.
little things end up becoming something at a later time. Like, I don't
Exactly.
know, maybe a Chinese spy balloon. And it's all floating, and they're like, oh, that's normal. But when you see
Right, right.
aerial phenomenons, even if it's something that's questionable, I think when you live in places like that are more open to that, like let's say
Right.
South America region,
Right.
South America's in general, they are very open about sharing what they see in the sky. And I mean, the UFO footage that's come out of a lot of those countries down there is amazing. But they're more open to sharing that information because they believe it's aligned to the Mayans. So, it's just a different belief system. I mean, they have a lot of indigenous folklore and things like that regarding, planets and the universe and the beginning and end, right? But also visitors that are from the heavens and their natural folklore that goes with it. So there's just more openness to that as opposed to Americans. We're just a bunch of teenagers in comparison to other countries who have richer, longer, ancient histories where people are still alive instead of being slaughtered. That's important.
Right. I had when I was a teenager, we had some neighbors there from Puerto Rico, and one of the boys, they went to the same high school, and their dad and mom used to talk about it. They were close to a base out there, and they're talking about all the stuff they've seen there, just crazy stuff dealing with UFOs and just cryptoid type sightings. It was pretty crazy.
There's a lot of everything's connected. It's just a question of how.
Right.
Right. So it's one of the things we talked about earlier is the president of Mexico made some headlines this week. On February 25th, he posted this tweet, and this is translated. He goes, I shared 2 photographs of our supervision of the Mayan train works. One taken by an engineer 3 days ago, apparently from an ALUX, which is a Mayan we'll get into what an Alux is, but it's basically like a elf, right? And it's
Right.
part of the folklore of Mexico, South America, is tied to the Mayans. And the other photo here is by Diego Prieto of a splendid pre-Hispanic sculpture in Ekbalam. Everything is mystical, he says. Well, he shares this image here of this alleged elf. Now, he claims, this is on February 25th of 2023, that this is an elf. So here's the image up close, just to share. Freaky ass shit.
Wow.
But unfortunately, I'm going to share the next article. So Mr. President Manuel, there was some fact checkers that were just checking this photo because there is a lot of stuff involving this Mayan train, which I did want to talk about briefly. There's a lot of interesting history involved in this. But anyway, the image of this elf that he posted on his Twitter and claimed, because he's posted other stuff about cryptoids, specifically the Aluxes or whatever, elves and other mystical creatures in the past. That's part of the culture. But this article is from CTV News. It says Mexican president posts photo of what he claims is an elf. And it hit the Associated Press. It's all over the news. Now, this is all being done intentionally. But the article said Mexico's president posted a photo on his social media account Saturday showing what he said appeared to be a mythological woodland spirit similar to an elf. President Andres Manuel Lopez, I can't, Obrador? I'm not even going to repeat it because I can't get it right. Did not seem to be joking when he posted the picture of the Elux, a mischievous woodland spirit in Mayan folklore. President wrote that the photo was taken 3 days ago by an engineer. It appears to be an Alux, adding everything is mystical. The nighttime photo shows a tree with a branch forming what looks like a halo of hair and what may be stars forming the figure's eyes. I like how they downplayed this. It's so funny. The president has always long expressed reverence for indigenous cultures and beliefs. Engineers and workers in the Yucatan Peninsula constructing a tourist train that is the president's pet project. According to the traditional Mayan beliefs, Aluxes are small, mischievous creatures that inhabit forests and fields and are prone to playing tricks on people, like hiding things. Some people leave small offerings to appease them. The ancient Mayan civilization reached its height from 300 AD to 900 AD on the Yucatan Peninsula and in the adjacent parts of Central America, but the Mayans' descendants continue to live on the peninsula. Many continue speaking the Mayan language and wearing traditional clothing while also conserving the traditional foods, crops, religion, and medicine practices despite the conquest of the region by the Spanish between 1527 and 1546. Now, about the picture. So despite President Lopez saying the photo of the creature was taken days ago by an engineer, the same photo appears to have been circulating on social media since at least 2021. So he posted a image that was not authentic to his specific claim, which there's a reason for this. But here's the image. This is the person accredited for this photo is from February 8th of 2021. Phillips Park, Manchester. Last week, a guy on an early morning run heard a commotion in the tree and photographed this. Ha ha ha. Right? So this is just a photograph that's floating around. It's probably a very well photoshopped one. I don't know. But that's the background on that mysterious moment in time on that tweet. So anyways, but the Aluxes are a real thing. But let me take a step back really quick and discuss this Mexican Mayan train that they've been working on. This is a huge project in Mexico. I was actually talking to the Beef because he might be actually heading out there sometime, I think it's later in the year, to go on this train because it goes from one side of Mexico to the other. It's huge.
Yeah. I remember you telling me about that.
Oh, yeah. And it's really, really cool. However, it's going through a lot of lands that are just this is the route. Let me first share the route with you. So this is the Maya Train Project route map. And it can go from Cancun all the way down through Mexico to Palenque at the very bottom. And so this train is going to be going all the way through Mexico. You can go along the coastline on either side to the Yucatan and Campeche and all the different regions. But the issue with this is by the construction of this particular train, they were going through indigenous lands and jungles that have not been touched ever. So it's putting a lot of things at risk. It's a very high profile, controversial project that's being done in Mexico. And of course, it's had its share of backlash from different scientists, historians, and it affects the livelihoods of people, is what the claims are. And there's several articles that dig into that. That are a lot of people are just concerned because you're messing with the indigenous lands, and also there's a lot of things back there they haven't even looked at. So you could be messing with indigenous people that are currently living there. You could be touching relics. You could be touching a lot of historical landmarks that you're even unaware that even exist to begin with, if that makes sense.
Right.
So the Mexico's Mayan train critically threatens ancient, pristine areas, scientists warn. The railroad and its hasty construction will endanger the wilderness and ancient cave systems beneath the jungle floor, say droves of environmental experts and scientists. So this is a big deal. This train is huge. That's number one. But the complaint is that the railway is splitting the jungle in half. As says Ishmael Lara, a guide who takes tourists to a cave that shelters millions of bats near a biosphere reserve. Lara fears the train, due to pass close by, will disrupt wildlife routes and attract too much development to fragile ecosystems. Over almost a year, Reuters photographed construction at points along the full length of the planned rail track, documenting the evolution of the flagship project, which President Lopez has pledged to finish by the end of 2023. Yeah, they've already sold tickets. So Beef already has a ticket to go on this with his father-in-law. So the 910 miles of rail are set to carry diesel and electric trains through the Yucatan Peninsula and connect Mexico's top tourist destination, Cancun, to the ancient Mayan temples and Palenque and so on. So the railway has deeply divided Mexicans, and the controversies surrounding the construction exemplify struggles developing countries across the globe face to balance the economic progress with environmental responsibilities. Mexico's tourism agency, Fonatur, who's charged with this project, has said the railway will lift more than a million people out of poverty and could create up to 715,000 new jobs by the end of 2030. Construction costs are seen at up to $20 billion, said President Lopez in July. But with the project already billions of dollars over budget and behind schedule, scientists and activists said the government cut corners in its environmental risk assessments in a bid to complete it while the president is still in office. So in December, the United Nations experts warned that the railway's status as a national security project allowed the government to sidestep usual environmental safeguards and called on the government to protect the environment in line with the global standards. Fonatur defended the speed of which the studies were produced. Years are not required. Expertise, knowledge, and integration capacity are required, it said in a response to questions from Reuters. It declined to comment on the UN statement. So the article goes on, but this is a huge project. But yeah, like there is a mixed population about this happening, but from most people I've spoken to here, there's a lot of people going. They're going to go. Like, people are buying tickets to go. These are Mexican-born, these are Mexicans from Mexico, and those living here in the United States. They want to go, to have this experience, to actually see Mayan temples, to go through some of these areas that otherwise you would have to go by vehicle or by foot.
Right.
So it's pretty wild. There are a lot of
Crazy.
environmental factors, but you'll find there's another article in there that's discussing just what they're going through and the manner of which they're doing it and the economic to environmental factors. So I believe the reason why the president, Lopez, decided to post this crap about, stealing a photograph of an elf or Elux from another poster from years ago is to promote, even with controversy or going viral, which actually it worked for his benefit, is to bring more positive energy into and build up that excitement, or at least bring to the attention of this Mayan train or the Maya train system that's going to be going through. So I think it's just unfortunately in this case, it was just a hoax to stir up viral, if you will, just to promote this train system, because the controversy is pretty strong. But at the same time, there's a lot of Mexican families and other people who are excited about this. I don't know. I'm going to see if Beef will take some footage when he goes at the end of the year. He's supposed to go.
The president said, "Skip the environment. I'm trying to get this train going."
Yeah, it's crazy. I guess it's almost an ego boost, man. That's what I take it as. Oh, look, I made this train. I'm awesome. But if the train explodes, that's not cool.
Exactly.
Ends up being a train Titanic or some shit.
It's like none of them listen to Captain Planet. Like none of them. Now, if he comes back and start whooping everybody's ass because nobody listened, you can't be mad at Captain Planet.
Either Captain Planet or the Alux is running around.
Right.
Little elves out there with cutting the tracks and shit.
Right. They'll probably just team up. So.
Oh my God. Captain Planet's leading the tribe. Oh man. But yeah, it's an interesting. Yep. But if anyone wants to know more about these little elves, the Mayan Aluxes, whatever I don't know the proper pronunciation. But if you want to know more, there's a link in the description discussing these little guys. And there are a lot of stories about them in Mexico. And I've known a good handful of individuals that have had experiences with seeing these things. The one story I was told very recently about these elves and the belief in them. There's two very strong beliefs. One, it's in these types of mischievous creatures, right? And the other is like the bruja, like the witches. Very strong belief systems. And it's just part of the culture. It's a part of their society. Superstition can seem trivial to outsiders, but it's all part of one's identity in a sense too, of your belief systems. And you can grow up knowing, having a lack of better words, a witch as a neighbor as a child and not think anything of it, because they're not in their culture, they're not all evil. Okay, there's good ones, like we have white witches and good witches, right? We put them in that category, or we have evil ones who cast evil. So I believe it goes both ways, and I think for every yin there's a yang. But the story was shared with me about the elves. It was from a friend's father when he was, I guess, a young adult in his late 20s. He used to take care of a farm with his father, and his father would tell him all the time, don't go out in the fields at night. Basically the elves will get you. And he thought it was a joke, and his dad would go on and on about having these encounters. So my friend's father was like, yeah, I'm sure they're out there. That's fine. I just won't mess with them, because basically you give them space and you don't mess with them. If they're in a certain area, you don't trespass, you don't take things away from them. You keep to yourself, they'll keep to themselves, is their logic, right? And so he went out one night because he had to check. He lived on farmland, so he went out to check the fields because it was like his dogs were just going off. And he went outside and he was like, well, if something's in the field, these dogs will get it, And they had coyotes and things like. It's a farm. You're going to attract, you're going to get your wild animals coming in and trying to steal food and stuff. So the dogs took off, and he said that as he was standing outside, he was looking into the field and he saw one of these things, this little creature, and it ran through the field, scared the hell out of him. And of course, he immediately backed up because he was like, okay, like, I get it, right? I need to go inside. So he calls the dogs. The dogs are chasing this thing. And he can't get him to come in. He got one of the dogs in, but the other two were at it. You know what I mean? Like going after this thing. So he just brought in the dogs he could. He went inside, locked up. He wasn't going to go fuck with that. And I don't blame him. I would have been like, it's cool. You could take some corn. I don't need it. So he went back in, came out the next morning, and he found his dog pulled apart from the jaw. So the dog's jaw was torn apart at the snout. Does that make sense?
Yep. I definitely hear you on that. Sorry, I had a little delay.
No, it's all right. I was like, uh-oh, connection again? No.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, I was making sure I could still hear you. Yeah, no.
Okay. So
it's very
that incident did it though. The torn snout open, like the dog's jaw being completely snapped in half. And
right.
It scared the hell out of him, and he was like, "Oh my god!" And there was tracks, there was all this other stuff. That was enough validation for him to keep the animals in at night for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, that something like that, especially that freaky. Yeah, I'd do the same thing. Like, nah, y'all staying in here.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, that was the last story I had. Did you have anything else to add?
Did I? No, I don't. Not at this moment. I gotta step up my crypto game.
Yeah, dude, it's been quiet a little bit though, to be fair. We did have one story. I think we'll save it for next time, so we can do a crypto show.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the Serbian dancing woman, the one that went viral. That's I have mixed feelings on it, but it's a cool story. But I wanted to save it for. We'll have to do a show about cryptids again. It's always a fun topic. So it's been quiet, my guy. It's been so quiet.
Yeah, it has. Like the last thing I really paid attention to was the giant sighting. That guy who ended up dead after filming that giant on the top of the mountain. That was like the last thing I kind of.
We'll have to wrangle all these stories up and put them do a show on it, because it's due. I've been looking for stuff, so it's just kind of like intermittent. It's like, oh, it goes through.
Yeah, and that story was pretty crazy because short story, but like how what went down with him prior or after filming that giant. Because like if you went on like his TikTok prior to that footage, like he was just doing like comedy stuff, like just stuff at home, like showing working out and stuff like nothing dealing with cryptids or anything like that. So that whole thing was very interesting. Like that was pretty crazy.
It's odd.
Right.
Very odd. Dun dun dun.
I heard like there's a story like some lady was saying like in Mexico they bring in a giant like once a month or something, and for everybody to see. And
I heard that story too. It's been a while though.
Right.
So we'll do some digging. We got to do some stuff on giants.
We'll do that. Make it a cryptid special or something like that.
Yeah.
The truth is out there, people.
Giants are out there too.
Yeah, they're out there.
Elves.
Yeah, nibbling on little human kneecaps or something. They
little delicioso.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you have anything coming up, Rich, or is there anything you need to plug, or is it just kind of chill?
Not now. I mean, I'll be back on it. But as of this second, no. As of this moment, I should say no. But I might pop up and do a stream soon with the new Harry Potter game and test that out. But yeah, I'll get back on it. But as of right now, no, not at this moment. Just dealing with teenage girls and their proms and their graduations and all that good jazz.
Yeah, that in itself is a project that never ends.
Right.
Yeah, you get through prom, but you got to deal with graduation. Then it's college. Yeah,
fun stuff. Yeah, I've been helping her apply at colleges and stuff. So Yeah, fun stuff.
And well, anyway,
Yeah.
people can find links to your information in the description. Also on the screen, you'll see some channels there for Rich and the Fantastic Melanated Nerds channel, so you can see them too. They do gaming and all kinds of stuff.
If they get their butts up and actually put something out.
I know, right? They'll get motivated. They'll get there.
Right.
It's just that motivation. Sometimes it's hard to
Right,
get
right, right.
started and keep the momentum is a bitch too. So I'm in no place to
Right,
say
right.
anything. But
Exactly.
anyway, but you can find all the links in the description for Rich and the girls. And my stuff, as far as my links and stuff, you'll find that in the description. I'm pretty much chilling right now. I'm enjoying chilling. It's
Right.
I've been busy with other projects, and my brain, the way my brain works is I can only handle so much project at once. So it gets done.
Well,
But, eventually
yeah,
I'll
well,
get
that's
more
why when we, talk about doing a podcast and get it scheduled,
Right?
that's because we finally have some time. Like, all right, let's do this now. Let's get this out the way
Absolutely.
while we have some time. So,
All right,
we want to
guys.
appreciate everybody for joining.
Absolutely.
We don't know when we'll be back, but we'll be back. We'll do
Oh,
a
yeah.
cryptid special, look at some paranormal stuff, all that good jazz. But again, we appreciate everybody joining like usual. All the links and descriptions, Squirrel's going to put that in there for y'all to check out later. Articles and all that good jazz. Until next time, we out. Hope everybody has a good weekend, weekend, whatever. And be safe out there. Don't put the bat signal up because I'm not coming to help you. But yeah, everybody enjoy this episode of the Glitch Paradox podcast, and we'll be back soon.
Yep, absolutely. Have a good night or day wherever you guys are at.
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
I want you to get mad.
Isn't that powerful?